All right, my name is Jean. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Do you know everyone here? You just know these guys? These guys? Okay. I'll make sure you guys get a chance to meet the other crew here. That's yours. Yep. So you guys talking about our program and inviting people, is that how it works? That's what we need. That's what we need. Exactly. That's what we need. Appreciate it. Yep. You're welcome. And print one more. Okay. All right, just got to print one more and then we're good. It doesn't go if I go over here, right? Okay. Boom. Hey. Can I get that to go bigger? Why is that so small?
Yeah, we can try. Oh, because it's paused.
Because it's paused?
Yeah. I think the minute you go back, it's going to be fine.
Oh, shit. Hey. Are we able to move this somewhere? No.
But that's on that.
Hey, Ryan, do you know how to move that off the screen, the main view, like to not view ourselves out of that main camera?
Well, you're not using Zoom, right?
Well, I am using Zoom to record. There we go. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, to record. There, thanks. Hey, May. There you go. And Shidrup. This is for you, just in case you need that.
Okay.
And then the clicker. Hola. Hola, Mia. Hi. Stop working.
Yeah, I could take it from the team slide, John.
From the team slide?
Yeah, team
Okay.
slide, YNAB slide, slide. Three of them.
Stop working.
Is it a different one?
Did I grab the wrong one?
Maybe.
No. It was working. This one was the one.
Let's just go with this
Does it
one.
need a charge?
I think this one works the best.
Let's go with it. Awesome. Okay. All right, there you go. If you need that one.
Yep.
All right. Welcome back for those who have been here yesterday in another one of our workshops. For those who have not been here, yesterday we went over the very first part of pitch deck, right? Building your pitch deck. Today we're going to go over slides 6 through 12. For those who weren't here, you have in front of you other slides from 1 through 5. So if you want to ask more questions about that, that I don't answer today, just go ahead and kind of write those questions down, and I'll get back to you, okay? What I would like you guys to do real quickly, though, is to check in. Check in. If you can scan this, and you already checked into, have you actually registered? Yes. Okay, if you registered, you will be able to check in. Go ahead and scan this QR code.
We're live on YouTube. We're live on YouTube.
All right, so also because you checked in and you registered, you'll get a feedback email after the program is done. If you guys do provide any feedback, that would be great. That'll allow us to rearrange some of our content, make it better. Some of the questions you guys ask, we will be able to put those into our program for other entrepreneurs to learn from, okay? All right, so for those who were here, I'm going to ask you this question. What is a pitch deck? All right? You guys remember. If you don't remember, then I'm going to ask the new guys. Remember, what is a pitch deck? Summary of a product, summary of the company. Okay? Mm-hmm. Perfect. A summary that gives someone else an overview of the product or the company at large, right? Okay. And the target market. Yep. So it has key elements of your business, key elements of the idea that you have that will give other individuals a perspective that you have, right? About what your business is, what it will do, what impact it will have, how you make money, right? So let's give you a general definition of what a pitch deck is, okay? So once again, pitch decks are used for multiple different reasons. Not only can they be used for investors, they can be used for partners. If I want to pitch you on something, I can give you a pitch deck to give you a view of that idea as well. But a pitch deck is simply used to quickly and effectively convey a business idea or proposal, right? To potential investors, clients, or partners, okay? So once again, you guys have probably looked up on Google or probably did some research and thought, hey, this is what a pitch deck is this what it tells me? But in reality, we can use different components of any pitch deck to condense it down or make it even larger for those who need it, okay? So it should be clear, concise, and visual. Now, I know we all are not marketers and branders and graphic designers, so we don't all have that visual capability, that skill to create visual presentations. So what I'm going to share with you today is very simple ways to get beyond the trial and tribulation of creating a pitch deck that's all beautiful. Okay, so the intention behind it, though, the visual perspective, is to really make it more compelling, right? And there's two components to a pitch deck, right? You have the visual, which is the design, and then you have the actual content, okay? Sometimes you come to the table with a lot of content, that means in your head. The data, you've written it down, you've read some books, you've got a lot of things together to gather this content of what you want to talk about your idea, right? But the design doesn't match up. So there's many tools out there. We'll talk about more tools later, but the goal is that you can use things like PowerPoint, or you can use, even today we have AI solutions that can help you create presentations, right? And that's newer, but you can get used to that over some time eventually, right? But right now, what I want you guys to focus on is, as I show you my presentation, it's a visual representation of information, right? So I did not pitch it. I'm not pitching to you. I'm giving you information. So I need to put more content on the slides to make sure that you understand it. And if you had questions, you'll be able to relate it to something that's already put on the slide, right? But when you're in an investor pitch, the least amount of words and more representation of the visual and the storytelling that you say is probably what they desire the most. We ever heard of PowerPoint, deaf to PowerPoint? You ever heard of this? You guys have to see this video. It's really interesting. Imagine if I just gave you words That's it. That's all I gave you is words. From the beginning left corner to the bottom right corner, right? Words. That's all I gave you. Would you be intrigued? Not at all, right? Not at all. So keep in mind as we go through this, I'm going to show you the different aspects of the presentation from content to design. So here are 6 main areas that I want you guys to focus on, which is define your goal, identify your target market like you mentioned, right? Know what you're talking about, which is really, really important, right? Be very clear. Sometimes we don't have an opportunity to say things in such a condensed way. You know, when someone asks us, tell me about your business, we go on for 1 to 5 minutes because it's intriguing, right? We want to share what's on our mind. But that's not always what we should do. We need to find a way to condense it down. So when you're creating your pitch deck, you think broad, go big first, and then come back down to something condensed version of that, okay? What about keep the content concise and at the point? Keep it visual, right? Very effective. Storytelling. Something that we'll do another workshop on is storytelling, which is it's very difficult to do it in a way that's very compelling and convincing, persuading, right? We need all of those tools, but you're going to learn a few things about that as we go through the presentation today. And then, most importantly, tailor the content to the format. So sometimes the presentation deck is in a 16:9, the regular PowerPoint view. Sometimes a pitch deck can be in a PDF format, right? Linear, 8:11. Doesn't matter what format it is, just make sure you're building toward it because the visual representation changes, all right? And the way the content is put on there changes, okay? So those are the key rules I want you to keep on your mind as we move forward. Today we're going to go over slides 6 through 12. And the very first slide is the competition slide, okay? The competition slide. So I'm going to give you some information here on the side, but then we're going to see an example of these slides right after, okay? So the first thing I wanted to do is to give you a perspective of what the competition slide is really about. It is an essential component of a pitch deck that highlights the competitive landscape of your business, right? So for example, you guys want to be in the healthcare industry or you want to be in the big box store industry, you have competitors that are already out there in the market providing products and services or technology to your potential customers. Some of them are direct competitors, right? Meaning that the moment that you enter into the market, you're competing with them right away. Then there's those who are indirect competitors, right? Those who are, maybe they're coming up the same time you're coming up. Maybe they're a startup just like you. Maybe they have their little niche of technology and you have yours. And you're a little bit different. You're in one space and they're in another space. But yet they're going to watch you. They're going to pay attention to what you do. And if you do something interesting and unique, and they have the resources, the human capital, the financial capital, or the knowledge, they might just implement what it is that you're doing if it's not proprietary, right? So the goal here is to make sure you clearly understand who is your direct competitor, who is your indirect competitor, and what makes you different, okay? Yesterday I gave an example about how we look at market share leaders, right? Market share leaders, let's think of Apple for a second. Let's think of Apple, let's think of Microsoft, let's think of Dell, okay? These companies are market share leaders in tech, right? They've been doing this stuff for plenty of years, 20 plus years, probably older than you guys, definitely older than me, right? So I kind of made it seem like you guys are older than me, but I'm much in the point where I remember when Apple got started. I remember when it was really early and brand new. I remember when Oracle was the leader in technology. But these companies have their niche every year because they have stakeholders, because they have investors, because they cater to so many of us. They have to publish reports on their company. Every single year they do an annual report. One of those reports goes where? To the SEC filing, right? It's all digital, all just documented, it's all words, right? But the other report that goes to key stakeholders or shareholders, it goes to the website. You can go on one of these companies' websites, go to the very bottom, go to investors at the very bottom, click on that, and you can find a visual representation of what did this company just do over the last 3 to 5 years. What are their plans for the next 3 to 5 years? How about having that information as you have your idea, getting ready to think about your niche and what value you can bring to a market where these market share leaders already have a niche, right? Or if they have certain influence, right? Verbal influence or their narrative, right? Think about what you can do with that kind of data going into building your idea or building your pitch deck, right? So the one thing I would like for you guys to do is to look at these competitors. Look at them. They're doing something right, right? So just because they're a competitor doesn't mean they suck, right? They're doing something right. I'm buying their products. Look how many different clothes we have on. We're buying everyone's products, right? We're doing it, and they're not trying to reach every product company's not trying to reach every customer. They believe that every customer could potentially purchase their product, right? But if they so need it or desire it or want it, but they have a particular customer that they're going after. And if you are going after that exact same customer and there's an industry leader, you should know what the industry leader is doing. And if you don't, you're leaving yourself to a lower vision of your idea. It could really enhance your idea if you're able to visually see what's going to happen in the next 3 to 5 years with the market share leader or what they're not going to do, right? What they're not going to do shows your opportunity, does it not? Okay. Now with your indirect competitors, right, the challenge that we have is that we don't know much about them. We can't go on the internet and find much about them. They don't probably do much on social because they may not have to. They have a niche market that they're focused on. But what our intentions is to know what we do right and know what we could be influential about, because those who want to know what we do and those who will become competitors are going to probably watch what we're doing, right? And if we don't know who they are directly, one way to find out is to kind of like put yourself out there, put a newsletter out there and find out who taps into your newsletter. Guess what happens? Someone's going to tap into your newsletter that's a competitor. Eventually, you'll start to see that their email is their company. That's one way to find out, right? So there's so many different ways that you can look at competition. My overall goal for you guys when you look at this presentation deck is to look at the key things that you need to focus on. All right, so I'm going to give you 3. One of them is the market analysis, the things that I just talked about. You can do a SWOT analysis. You guys ever heard of what that is? So a SWOT analysis, right, is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, right? Those are key areas that you can look at any business that is existing and or non-existing. What you're doing, you can SWOT your own business, or you can SWOT another business to identify where the opportunities lie, where the weaknesses lie, right? Or where your potential strengths are, or where the market share leaders are not doing anything, right? So you use the market analysis to be able to create some type of perspective of why you are going to be valuable in the market, okay? What about the competitive differentiation? What separates you, like we talked about? You know the 80-20 rule, right? Right? So think about it from a business perspective. If you're going to enter the market and there's already customers, your existing customers that you believe that you are going to target, they're already receiving a service or a product or a technology, you better be doing 80% of what the existing products already do going into the market. Because how are you, as a new organization, a new business, going to convince me, who I'm already receiving your product, that you're valuable? Right? I'm already getting the message. I'm already getting all the emails. I'm getting all the narrative coming from those who provide me existing products, right? So your 20% difference, is going to matter a lot. And that's what you market. That's what you promote. That's what you advertise. That's what you stick to. But then you also can say, hey, we do the things that these guys do, right? That's very important. So common mistakes that are done on the slide deck itself is sometimes oversimplifying, right, the competitive landscape. Sometimes you say, I don't have a competition. You ever heard that? Or have you ever said that? No? I don't have competition. It's true, maybe you don't have competition because you're not in the industry yet. You're not even a business yet. So you have no competition. But in reality, we all have some form of competition, right? That's why I said segment it. Direct competition or indirect competition. Find at least 3 to 5 companies in each one of those areas and let that be your landscape. Right? You may need to change it, plug someone out. Maybe they're not doing well over the last 5 years and they don't even matter anymore. Take them off your competitive deck. You don't need them anymore. But don't oversimplify it, right? Because those who you're going to get money from or potential partners, they will know, right? They will know. One tip that I'll have is to make sure that it's very visual, right? This is the chance where you're not really trying to beat down your competitor. You're just trying to show who they are. So if that means taking their logos and putting it on your website and calling them direct indirect, and putting a little bit of information about what makes them a competitor and what separates you, that would be very valuable, okay? Here are 4 examples, right? 4 examples of what a deck could look like, okay? Any questions on competition? You guys have probably seen this version a lot, yeah? The checks and balances, what you do right? Sometimes we get these areas wrong, like what really makes you different, right? But you gotta know what they do, right? But then one cool thing that you can do is like list it, competition. You have a singular thing. Our product is unique and it doesn't have direct competitors, right? Why is it unique? Well, tell me why. Show me why it's unique, okay? All right. So we're going to move on. Any questions at all on competition? Okay. We're going to move on to slide number 7, which is traction. So we know that we're all startups here. We don't have a lot of traction. And if you do have traction, this is where this slide is going to be very important for you. Okay. One of the hardest things for us as a startup, right, is to talk about what we have succeeded at. Even us as people, right? Imagine you don't just go brag about yourself on the daily basis, right? If you meet me right now, you're not gonna say, hey, John, nice to meet you. Hey, you know, I am Forbes 30 under 30. I'm the best UCI student ever, right? You're not gonna just outlandishly throw that out there, right? But if I saw a post on social media about you, right? And I just met you today and you guys are like, hey, I'm the Forbes 30 under 30, you know, UCI grad, right? And I see it on your social media, now there's something. You're telling me something about yourself. That's it. That's how simple traction is. Traction can be whatever it needs to be and at whatever stage you are, right? So let's just say you just got off your idea, you just created your business model canvas, and you literally just talked to 10 people. And those 10 people validated and said, man, what you just told me, your product is very interesting. I think I would buy that if you could make it, right? That's enough traction. Hey, 10 people, that's 10 quotes. Take some of those quotes. Hey, can I quote you? Yes, you can quote me. Go ahead, take some of that. Leverage that because that's going to get other people interested. Traction starts to get people interested, does it not? Right? So let's talk about kind of the main key elements that you can bring into traction, right? Metrics, right? Like I just said, 10 people is 10 people. Right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in the room, right? Traction, we could talk about it. Hey, 10 people was at this presentation today. You guys should be here tomorrow, right? That's something that we can learn to take our own metrics and share that, right? Maybe value comes, 2 people go talk to 2 people, so you 2 people brought 2 people. How about that? How amazing is that? That's great. That's what we need, okay? That's how simple it is for your business. Whatever you think it is, can you share it in a way that is convincing that it was important to the growth or the sustainability or the development of your business? Okay, a time frame, right? So say that you started your idea in January 2022, and now it's January, 2023, and you were able to accomplish X, Y, and Z throughout this time period. Maybe it's not something outlandish, but it was small little micro successes that you had that you believe in. Put them on a timeline. Show them beginning, end, where I was and where I am now. Show them. Maybe if it's 20 different items, cut it down to 5 or 10 of the main ones that you think are really relevant to your traction. It doesn't mean that you have to be making money, that you have to have tons of customers, that you have to have a product out there in the market. It doesn't mean that at certain stages. When you go to an investor meeting, then you better understand what kind of things are they looking for traction. And you would hope that you have that traction going into that meeting, right? So you wouldn't be so worried, but you need to make sure it conveyed inside your deck, right? Validation. Once again, consumer validation is probably the best traction you can have, right? We don't all find what we call product market fit. We don't find that so easy. But when someone says they're willing to pay for something, that is the pre-product market fit. Simple as that. I'm willing to pay you. Now you got to show me how you can get me the product, all of those different things, right? That's important. But in this particular case, for you guys, just validation. How many people have you talked to, right? Sometimes this whole group here, say you had your business idea. I may ask one of you guys a little bit later on about your idea. Maybe we may validate it for you within this core group. What does that do for you? right? Does it help you go back and make some iterations, some changes, some unique decisions that you have to make, right? Whatever it is, if it's validated that you are a product that people like, they want, and now you just need more resources to get it there, that's probably why you're given a pitch deck, right? So validation. A couple of key mistakes is ignoring negative metrics, right? So what can you learn from negative metrics? This business, I've been running this business for 2 years. I haven't done anything, or I've done this, but here's the negative things that have happened. These metrics, I learned from them, but I moved on. What can you learn from negative metrics? Right. The flows and downs, right? So exactly. If I'm an investor and I hear you tell me about a negative metrics that was part of your journey, but then you show me how you superseded that and you're at this meeting today, does that not show me that you're able to go through some challenges, some ups and downs, right? Your negative metrics actually could be very valuable in a meeting because we need to know, are you the right founders as well? Are you the right founders, right? Have you been through anything, or are you just someone who came up with an idea and presented it to me tomorrow, right? I don't know, right? These people who may have the decks in front of them, and these investors who may have decks in front of them, they're going to get thousands of decks. They don't know who's been working on this for 5 years or 3 years or 2 years or came from research, right? And then came into creating from research to being an actual product and trying to go to market. They don't know that yet, right? Unless they did their research on you, the individual, but let's just assume that they did not, right? So you can share negative metrics that matter to the growth and development of your business. And if that negative metrics was something that you found was a unique thing that was something different amongst your competitors, that also is very valuable, all right? So sharing positive stuff is great, but also sharing that little journey and the trial and tribulation that you went through to get to where you are today is probably one of the most important things you can add to this slide. Okay, let's look at what a couple examples of slides you can put on. All right, any questions on traction? Right, so even though these are very high level looking, that's because it deals with money, right? At the end of the day, you have a business, you probably present it to an investor, you want to show where you are. So think about this example, right? We always love to see what is this called? Anyone know this example? The hockey stick, right? We all love to see the hockey stick. What does that mean? Hockey stick means growth. It means growth, right? Something's happening. Something is trackable. Something is validation, right? That's what that means, right? Think about if you are just now starting your app, right? How about an example like this, right? You got your phone and probably the best version of the app, UI that you have. You put it on there, talk about what someone said about it, right? You give a little bit of information about the downloads that it had, right? Or the reviews, right? That's something very simple. That's enough traction for me. If I'm an investor, if I can see 500 downloads in less than, let's call it 6 months, right? That's cool. That's cool. All right. What about if there's some key areas of revenue to show what you've been able to do? So we've sold 13,000, templates, and we had 1,500 designs that we've created, right? And out of that, we've generated over $850,000. Simple. But that shows us in a visual way of what it can do. And then you have the people, right? Always think about the idea that if someone says they value you, right? If it's a partner, if it's a business, if it's a individual, and they are of value, meaning they have, their own credibility to themselves, ask them, hey, can I use, our engagement? Can I use your logo? Can I use your name to show and validate that, you have said that my product is something you're willing to purchase or something you've engaged with or something you're willing to invest in, right? That's where you can put people's names or company or anyone who represents you, right? Cool. Any questions on traction? All right. So the business model. Before I begin on the business model, what is a business model? Who can tell me what is a business model? Anyone? Go ahead.
Basically like your revenue system and like how your business is working with the day, like in and out, and how your supply chain is working.
Perfect. So how you make money, right? That's one aspect of the business model, which is also considered the revenue model. But the other portion is how you operate. What needs to happen in order for you to be in business, right? So this is an important slide. If you don't convey this, then all the rest of the slides don't really matter. All the slides before and all the hoopla and all the attention grabbing you gave someone with your presentation is beautiful design and all that good stuff. If this doesn't make sense, everything else is done, right? So let's talk about this slide. So a business model slide is critical, right? It outlines how the company plans to generate revenue, right? And create value for its customers. Very, very simple. How do you generate revenue and create value? Now, let's just imagine that you're not a tech business. Let's imagine that you are more so focused on a social cause, right? How can someone, and this is a question for anyone who wants to answer, how can someone convey a business model that is focused mostly on the impact of what they do versus the amount of revenue that they generate? How can you show that? Any ideas? Or any thoughts? Really, there's no answer, so any thoughts? How can you convey this concept?
Focus more on like your like the stuff that you're doing like in your business. For example, if you're doing some social work, so you focus on like the main stuff that's been done rather than the revenue.
Yeah.
Social responsibility.
Yeah. The social responsibility and what you do to create social responsibility, right? To do your part for that area, right? Which leads to generating revenue, or which leads to a certain impact that eventually trickle-down effect generates revenue, right? So in this area, one time, some of the kind of issues that we have is the value of your business, the value proposition of your business sometimes is not conveyed on this slide, okay? And what I mean by value proposition, what I'm talking about is that you just clearly articulate what kind of unique value that you have, right? What makes you, on a daily basis, the things that you do, what makes you valuable, right? To me, the customer, or to the industry at large, these things are very important, all right? So a couple mistakes that people make on this is not focusing on scalability, right? You guys are young entrepreneurs. You're getting ready to begin the journey of entrepreneurship. You're getting ready to figure out what business you want to start. So you kind of think, oh, I'm just a college student. I can't scale. I don't know what that even looks like. But you see all these businesses. You have all these products. You have these clothes. You have these shoes, right, of companies. At some point, they were nothing, right? And at some point, scalability happened. But they planned it. They went through the process. So let's look at the idea of how you can show in your business model kind of where you're going, right? You can show, well, here's where we are right now. Here's what we do to get here. Here's where we're going to do where we want to grow. Here's how much revenue we can make. And if we get to scalability, or when we get to scalability, here's what scalability looks like for us, okay? So think about it from a couple of words. Develop your business, right? And then you start, right? You start to build that idea. And then eventually you're going to prepare to launch that idea. And then from launching, you will figure out how to sustain that business, right? Once you can sustain that business, that means you did something right. Your business model was X, but in order for you to go from sustain to grow or pivot to growth, right, you have to do something different. If you're already sustaining is sustaining, is it not? It doesn't mean that you're growing or scaling. It means you're sustaining. So if you've been in business for a year, or maybe you've had some traction over a 2-year period, how can you show growth? Well, here's where we made money. Here's where our business model was yesterday. Moving forward, here's what we're going to look for growth and for scale, right? This is also what you can show in your business model slide, okay? Let's look at examples, okay? So let's say that you are a software company, right? And you're a brand new software company. You offer, project management solutions, right? You're competing with Monday.com, you're competing with Asana.com, you're competing with Trello.com, right? You can show what makes you a little bit different. You can show our price points are different, right? We have a base model of X, and in that base model, we reach XYZ number of customers. At that price point, it's very valuable, but we've learned from that value of that customer that other customers want other features. So we have offered a business, feature, right? And we have that business package has 6 different feature sets that are unique to that particular package, right? Then you go to enterprise. Man, we can grow and scale to enterprise because we realize that 20,000 customers need our products, but those same 20,000 customers work for these type of corporations. And because they work for these corporations, we're targeting these corporations to purchase for all of their customers, right? And they purchase at this price point. That's a way that you can show growth and scale, even if you haven't reached enterprise, but you've validated and shown that these two are possible. If I'm an investor, if I'm someone who's willing to work with you or partner with you and I want to help you grow or scale to this, at least you're giving me something to say, this is interesting. I want to do this, right? I can invest in you or I'm willing to work with you. So that's one way to show from a base to growth into potential scale, right? What's another one? So here you go. You have this particular example. We charge this dollar amount per, and we charge this dollar amount for this particular package, right? These two together generate this much money every single month, right? So not only do you have one offering, you have 2 offerings. Here's the way you can show it. Very, very simple. Our revenue, these 2 areas is what makes us, generates our revenue, okay? Also, think about it. You may have a company where you offer one particular service, but in that one particular service, once again, you have different features, right? So maybe your core features is what you talk about only. Your core features, the things that bring people to your company and the reason why they see that as value, this is what you want to show the most on your presentation. If you end up showing 10 items, 10 different ways of generating revenue. That's cool. You have 10 ways to generate revenue. Think about entertainment companies. Entertainment companies can generate revenue in so many ways. If I make a video out of this video today and I wanted to sell it, right? What can I do? I can chop it up, put it on social media, make a post, make some money from monetization. Then I can probably take it and make an article. Put in an article, I can publish an article, put it onto, as an affiliate to an article company or a news company or a publisher, right? I could probably take 10 of these courses and turn it into a small little book, make a book out of it, right? How many ways I can make money? That's great to show investors you can make money, but what are the main ways you make money, right? So you can call it ancillary. Think about ancillary revenue, right? It means this is extra ways we make money, right? So you can show that as well. All right. So we're going to go over the last one, which is not for me, right? Last one? Yep. And this is one that I didn't really want to put here, but I felt is necessary because some of the competitions are going to ask you to show, how do you make money? And if you make money today, how do you make money, over the next 5 years, right? So financials are some of the toughest areas on a pitch deck that people just get wrong. They just don't know how to explain, right? Definitely when you're early, it's very hard to explain well, here's how I make money. Well, no, you don't make money today. So it's very challenging to get it right in the language and in the actual visual representation, okay? So why it's important though, is that it lays the fact that to investors it needs to understand the financial visibility of your, or viability, of your business, right, before committing to invest. So right now, let's just say you guys are part of some competitions. It doesn't require you to be validated over the 5 years, how much money you made over the 5 years. That's not, you're in an early stage pitch competition, right? So you at least can show that here's where we are today, here's where we will be in the future, and here's the visual representation so you can see what we are able to be as a company. It's just giving me perspective. They're pro forma, right? And in the back end of it, there's a lot of Excel databases you can use to make it and create visual representation, or you can just get the numbers and then find a better way to show numbers, right? So in this particular financial slide, some of the mistakes that I see happen all the time is just the context, right? lack of context. Like someone may say, well, I'm going to generate $800,000 in my first year in business. That's almost $1 million. What are you doing right that I didn't do right? That's what investors start thinking. How did you generate $800,000 in your first year? Like, show me. Like, tell me more about this process, right? Context. How did I? How did you make this money, right? Ignoring some of the risks and challenges along the way of making that $800,000, right? So you're not a business day, you haven't made a lot of money, but you're planning to it, and this is where you've projected. Have you calculated risk, right? Have you calculated some of the challenges? Putting it here is very important. Overly optimistic, right? So it's not overly optimistic to say I can make $800,000 a year. People do it all the time. I know people who make $100,000 a month. So people are doing it, but the difference is it sustainable? Is it through e-commerce only, right? Is it through the fact that you have my credit card on file plus 30,000 more people's credit card on file and you're able to re-engage me and I'm able to purchase more than once, right, through the process? Show us that process, right? So besides the financials being the toughest, just getting context, it's also toughest visually. Eesh. This is kind of how it looks. It's crazy, right? It's not the best slide in the world, but this is a visual representation of what I'm talking about. But, and I actually have information here, but you can cut this stuff down from the way I showed you and just put more graphics and maybe little sentences, right? Little paragraphs about what validates your finances. So even though you guys are early stage, I wanted to show you this slide because it's really important that you can visually see what it needs to look like. But this is the financial slides, okay? Any questions on that? I'm going to have Shadrup come, and he's going to talk to you about the next 5 slides, right? And then we can kind of go over it a little bit more after the presentation. So any other questions right now on the first 5 slides? All right. Yes, ma'am. What, the business model and revenue model? Oh, business model and business model canvas? No, business model canvas is exactly that. Think of a canvas, blank canvas. These are areas of focusing on your business. A business model is actually how you go about creating value for your customer. So the business model canvas will show you different areas, right? So you have 9 different blocks inside the business model canvas, yeah? In that area is going to say, well, I have customers, I have revenue streams, and I have the channels of how I make that money. And through those channels that get my product to my customer, here's how I make money. So the business model is my idea, my product goes through this channel. It reaches the customer. From the customer, I receive money, and they receive X value. That's your business model. Does that make sense? So the business model canvas helps you get that clear picture of that circular process that has to be repeatable. That's what we're talking about on these finances. It's very hard sometimes to show that repeatable revenue generation process of your business, right? So the more clearer you get on the process of getting your product or your service or your technology from wherever it is into the hands of the customer and doing that consistently, that is your business model. Does that make sense? And then there's other aspects of that. You can do that one consistently, and you can have other channels and other areas to make money as well, but you kind of want to hyper focus on the one that's consistent. Okay? All right. Shadrup, you are up, my friend.